Apple just did something it swore it would never do. The company that spent a decade mocking Google for data collection just announced it's running your iPhone's AI on Google's technology. Not partnering, not licensing a small feature, building its entire next-generation AI architecture on top of Google Gemini. At WWDC 26, Apple unveiled its third-generation Apple Foundation models, 5 new AI models that power everything from Siri to photo editing. For the first time in Apple's history, these models are built openly on a competitor's platform, Google's platform. The same Apple that ran billboards saying, "What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone," now needs Google's help to make your iPhone smart. And if you think that's just a technical detail, you're missing the biggest power shift in tech since the iPhone launched. Let's be clear about what happened here. Apple didn't just announce a partnership. It announced dependency. Apple calls this a deep collaboration with Google that unlocks a huge upgrade to Apple Intelligence. The new models deliver what Apple calls state-of-the-art reasoning, plus multimodal image understanding and generation. Translation: your iPhone can finally do what ChatGPT has been doing for 2 years. But here's the part Apple glossed over in the keynote. These aren't Apple models with some Google code sprinkled in. They're Google Gemini models with Apple's name on them. The foundation, the actual architecture, is Google's. For a company that has always controlled every piece of its stack from chips to software, this is surrender. Apple spent billions developing its own chips to break free from Intel. It built its own mapping system to escape Google Maps. It created a message in FaceTime to avoid depending on carriers. And now, it's running the future of its product line on technology owned by the company it spent 15 years trying to distance itself from. The irony is so thick, you could cut it with a lightning cable. Apple's new foundation models come in 5 flavors, and they run both on your phone and on Apple's servers through something called private cloud compute. That system launched last year to handle AI tasks too heavy for your device. The smallest model runs entirely on-device for quick tasks like autocorrect and notification summaries. The largest handles complex reasoning and runs in the cloud. In between, there are 3 models optimized for different tasks: image generation, multimodal understanding, and what Apple calls advanced reasoning. But here's what nobody's talking about. Apple didn't build any of this from scratch. Every single one of these models is based on Google's Gemini architecture. Apple fine-tuned them for its ecosystem, sure, but the core technology, that's Mountain View, not Cupertino. The new system includes something Apple calls a system orchestrator, software that coordinates AI requests across apps and tailors responses based on what you're doing. If you're in Mail, it understands email context. If you're in Photos, it knows you're looking at images. There's also a completely rebuilt Siri that Apple is calling Siri AI. This version can read what's on your screen, search through your messages and photos, retrieve information from the web, and take actions across multiple apps without you lifting a finger. It's basically what Google Assistant was supposed to be in 2010, except now it's powered by Google's actual technology, on an Apple device, with Apple's logo. So, what about privacy? Apple's entire brand is built on the promise that it doesn't sell your data. Every keynote for the past 5 years has included at least one dig at Google's business model. Apple's answer: trust us. And also trust this system we built that theoretically prevents Google from seeing your data, even though we're using Google's AI. Here's how Apple says it works. When your iPhone needs cloud AI, it sends your request to Apple's private cloud compute servers, not Google's. Those servers run Apple's version of the Gemini models in what Apple calls a stateless environment. That means no logs, no data retention, no memory of what you asked. Apple also says outside security experts can verify these privacy guarantees at any time. The company is allowing independent audits of its server infrastructure to prove that user data is only used for the immediate request and then deleted. That's the promise. But here's the problem. You're still running Google's code. And code has a funny way of doing things its creators intended, even when it's running on someone else's hardware. Security researchers are already raising questions. If there's a vulnerability in Gemini's architecture, does it carry over to Apple's implementation? If Google updates Gemini and Apple adopts those updates, who's checking the new code? And what happens when inevitably, 3 years from now, someone finds a way to extract data from Apple's stateless servers? Apple says it has answers to all of this, but the company asking you to trust it on privacy is the same company that just admitted it can't build competitive AI without Google's help. Let's zoom out. Why would Apple do this? Why would a company with a $2.8 trillion market cap and the most valuable brand on Earth publicly admit it needs its rival's technology because it had no choice? Apple has been working on AI for years. It acquired 32 AI companies between 20 and 24. It hired hundreds of machine learning engineers. It built custom AI chips into every device. And it's still years behind OpenAI, Google, and even Meta. The first version of Apple Intelligence launched in 24, and it was embarrassing. Siri couldn't answer basic questions. The text generation was worse than free tools from Tech2. Image generation looked like clip art. Apple's own employees were reportedly using ChatGPT at work. So, Apple had three options. 1, keep pretending it could catch up on its own while falling further behind. 2, acquire or merge with an AI leader like OpenAI, which would cost hundreds of billions and face brutal regulatory scrutiny. 3, partner with Google and hope nobody noticed it just gave up. Apple picked option 3, and it's betting that consumers care more about having good AI than about where that AI comes from. That bet might be right. A survey from April 2012 found that 73% of iPhone users wanted better AI features, and only 12% cared whether Apple built the technology itself. People don't buy iPhones because of who wrote the code. They buy iPhones because they work. But here's the thing about partnerships with Google. They never stay small. Android started as a scrappy open source project. Now it runs 70% of the world's smartphones and funnels billions into Google's ad business. Chrome was supposed to be a simple browser. Now it controls web standards and shapes what 3 billion people can do online. Apple just invited Google into the most intimate layer of its products. The part that listens to you, reads your messages, looks at your photos, and learns your habits. If you think Google won't find a way to benefit from that, you haven't been paying attention. So, what happens next? Apple says this is just the beginning of its deep collaboration with Google. That phrase should terrify anyone who values competition in tech. Deep collaboration means shared roadmaps. It means Apple's AI strategy is now tied to Google's AI strategy. It means every time Google makes a breakthrough, Apple has to wait for permission to use it. And every time Apple wants to build something new, it has to check whether Google's technology can support it. This is the opposite of the Apple that revolutionized phones, tablets, and watches by refusing to depend on anyone. This is an Apple that's admitting Silicon Valley's dirty secret. In the AI era, there are only 3 companies that matter: OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. Everyone else is a customer. Microsoft knew this and bought a stake in OpenAI. Meta knew this and poured $40 billion into building its own models. Amazon knew this and built Bedrock to resell everyone else's AI. Apple knew this and called Google. There are questions Apple didn't answer at WWDC, like, how much is Apple paying Google for this partnership? Is there revenue sharing when Siri uses Gemini? What happens if Google decides to prioritize its own Pixel phones over iPhone in future Gemini updates? And the biggest question, what happens to Apple's legendary control over user experience when that experience is built on someone else's foundation? Apple has spent 30 years convincing you to trust it more than Microsoft, Google, Facebook, or any other tech giant. It charged premium prices because it promised premium privacy and premium control. That promise just got a lot harder to keep. This is the biggest strategic shift in Apple's history, and most people are going to miss it. If this keeps you up at night, subscribe. We cover this every week. If you found this useful, don't forget to hit the hype button. It helps the channel grow.